All right, Vanessa, thanks so much. We will have another check of news and weather coming up in 25 minutes.
Thanks for watching. I'm Mary Kelby.
And I'm Chris Raggi. CBS This Morning is next live from Washington, D.C. Stay with us all day here on CBS 2 News. Have a great day.
It is Inauguration Day, Friday, January 20th, 2017. Welcome to CBS This Morning from the National Mall in Washington. This is an historic day for America. The nation makes a peaceful transition of power from Barack Obama to Donald Trump. And we'll bring you every moment live.
A patriotic display of grandeur kicked off the presidential inaugural last night. Hundreds of thousands of people are expected here for this morning's swearing in.
So what do we expect in the next 4 years? Our guests include Trump advisor Kellyanne Conway and the president-elect's son Eric Trump, plus House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, Senators Cory Booker and Lindsey Graham, among others.
But we begin this morning with a look at today's eye-opener, your world in 90 seconds.
You're going to cheer me on, but I'm going to be cheering you on because what we've done is so special. All over the world, they're talking about it.
The nation awaits the inauguration of the 45th President of the United States of America.
The enthusiasm and intensity that President Donald Trump is going to bring to this office is amazing.
You don't have to like Donald Trump. There's a peaceful transition. It's what makes American democracy amazing.
He works 7 days a week, 365 days a year. He's going to put Washington back to work.
Except they did say he's going to take the weekend off and then start on Monday.
Is that acceptable, Gil?
Yeah, no, listen.
At the Senate confirmation hearing, Rick Perry enjoyed a moment with Senator Franken.
I hope you were as much fun on that dais as you were on your couch. May I rephrase that, sir?
Please. Please. Oh, my Lord.
Notorious Mexican drug lord El Chapo Guzman now in the hands of U.S. authorities and will appear in federal court today.
The desperate search for survivors is underway at a mountain resort buried by an avalanche in central Italy.
All that.
On this Inauguration Day, a page is turned on a historic chapter in American history.
The Marine One helicopter that's going to carry him off better have some extra juice in it because people are not ready to let go.
And all that matters.
Donald Trump's inauguration, big day, yeah?
It's real. You know, it's happening.
No matter who you voted for, tomorrow is a day when every American should stay off Facebook. I mean, really, what's the point?
On CBS This Morning.
Rain is expected during the inauguration.
It literally might rain on Donald Trump's parade.
If it really pours, that's okay, because people will realize it's my real hair, and that's okay. It's okay.
This morning's eye-opener is presented by Toyota. Let's go places.
Welcome to CBS This Morning on this Inauguration Day. 5 hours from now, Donald J. Trump will be sworn in as the 45th President of the United States. He will take the oath of office just before noon Eastern on the West Front Terrace of the Capitol. Our expanded broadcast will include live coverage of all the main events going on here in Washington. We have cameras all around the Capitol.
And here's what the day will look like. President-elect Trump is waking up this morning at Blair House. That is across the street from the White House. He will have breakfast there before leaving for St. John's Episcopal Church for a prayer service beginning at 8:30 Eastern Time. At 9:30, Mr. and Mrs. Trump will cross Pennsylvania Avenue to have coffee and tea with the Obamas at the White House. Then at 10:30, President-elect Trump and President Obama will leave the White House and they will ride together in a motorcade to the east side of the Capitol. Members of Congress will already be there waiting for them.
The actual ceremony will take place on the west side of the Capitol. VIPs, including Supreme Court justices and former President presidents will be seated around 10:45. The inaugural program officially begins at 11:15, and then shortly before noon, Chief Justice John Roberts will administer the presidential oath to Mr. Donald Trump. Then the new president will give his inaugural address.
The inauguration ceremonies began yesterday after the president-elect and his family flew from New York to Washington. We begin our coverage with Major Garrett. He is outside Blair House, across from the White House. Major, good morning.
Good morning. Donald Trump's unprecedented and improbable path to the presidency, begun so many months ago, takes its final strides this morning. From Blair House, you see behind me, to that church service that Nora's mentioned, and then here to the White House for that coffee with President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. As is customary, the incoming first family spent their final night before moving in the White House inside Blair House after taking in a full day of ceremony and celebration. In classic Trump style, the inaugural kickoff was big and bold. America's next president soaked it all in with his family by his side before sounding a note of humility.
I had something to do with it, but you had much more to do with it than I did.
Mr. Trump called himself a mere instrument of fed-up voters.
I'm the messenger. I'm just the messenger.
From the base of the Lincoln Memorial, the president-elect absorbed the pageantry and the gravity of the responsibilities to come. Mr. Trump arrived in Washington on a military plane and snapped a salute as the commander-in-chief-to-be. Then a champagne toast at the hotel that bears his name. And at Arlington National Cemetery, Mr. Trump and the vice president-elect laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. In the solemn tradition of leaders before them. On Inauguration Eve, a Trump staffer released a video of the moment Mr. Trump knew he would be the 45th president of the United States. And he relived that moment last night at a candlelight dinner for donors, members of Congress, and cabinet nominees. And he made this prediction.
The next time, 4 years from now, the next time, we're going to win the old-fashioned way.
The president-elect met briefly at Blair House yesterday afternoon with Chief Justice John Roberts, who will deliver the oath of office. There is a very great desire, Nora, to avoid the mix-up in that oath that occurred in 2009 that required President Obama to recite that oath with the Chief Justice at the White House the following day.
I remember that. You got to get it exactly the way the Constitution lays it out. Major, thank you very much. At the pre-inaugural dinner last night, the president-elect paid tribute to his counselor and former campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway. Mr. Trump brought her up on stage and said, quote, "There is no den she will not go into." Kellyanne Conway joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning, Nora.
This is a big day. Have you seen the inaugural address?
I have. It's a beautiful, elegant address, personally written by Donald Trump, and I believe powerfully delivered today. You're going to hear a man of action, a man of resolve. And in what we all know to be a divided country, Nora, I think that Donald Trump will lay down an important marker to try to unify the country and challenge all of us to follow his lead.
Will he be reaching out to others who maybe didn't support him?
Yes, he will be.
How so?
And Gail, he did that on election eve.
I remember, yeah.
November 9th in those wee hours when he said, "I will be the president of all Americans, including those who do not support me." And then he ad-libbed, and maybe there were a few of you. So it was very funny in that regard, but he means it sincerely. And look, Donald Trump did not divide the country, but he has a great opportunity now to help unify us.
Everybody is saying that this is a critical moment for him because everybody's watching, and it is a test and a challenge for him to be aspirational and to bring the country together. Give us a sense of what will do that.
His words, and then followed by his actions, Charlie. In the inaugural address, you will hear an uplifting, aspirational, visionary Donald Trump calling for us to take bold action fairly quickly. That's what businessmen do. But at the same time, it's undergirded by a real sense of patriotism, a real sense of America first in the best sense, meaning We need to protect American workers. We need to protect American security. At the same time, he reaches out to the world. You'll hear that today as well.
How's he feeling today, Kellyanne? This is a big, big day. The moment is finally here. I know he's proud and all of that and confident, but really, how is he feeling?
I've seen him through many different emotions. I feel like he's just so ebullient and buoyant. But also, I find President-elect Donald Trump over these last couple months to really understand the enormity and the gravity and the responsibility of this moment and of this role. And with that, Gail, comes a certain humility.
Humility?
What will be his first executive action?
Well, you'll see. Today, he'll take a few of them. Every president seems to, Charlie, sometimes to enhance the security of their family, for example. But he has said he wants people to enjoy the celebration, but he will take a couple of executive actions. I think by Monday, you'll see him rolling back some of the job-killing regulations, some of what he considers to be unconstitutional measures. But until then, he really wants people to soak in the moment of this great
You mean environmental regulations and things like that?
Possibly, yes.
How much have you planned out these first 2 weeks of him in office? Will it be shock and awe in terms of quick action and delivering on some of the promises he made during the campaign?
Nora, it'll be a shock to the system that is Washington, D.C., where the glacial pace has never seen a businessman in New York come through with I think, the pen of the executive orders, but also he's somebody who has said what he wants to do. I think you've got a 5 or 6 point plan in short order. Repealing and replacing Obamacare, regulatory relief, tax reform. Even George W. Bush was able to pass tax reform with the democratically controlled Senate within the first few months. So we're looking for cooperation across the aisle to do the same.
We got to go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday.
Enjoy the day. Thank you so
much. Big day for you. Happy birthday.
50 feels fabulous.
The first stop Mr. Trump will make this morning will be at the historic St. John's Episcopal Church for a prayer service. Every American president has attended at least one service there since the church opened in 1816. You can probably hear the music in the background. They are getting ready for a concert later today.
It's not what they're going to hear at church.
Yeah, that is not what they're going to hear at church today. You're right, Charlie. Back to the church story. It has earned the nickname the Church of the Presidents. Margaret Brennan is outside St. John's. Margaret, good morning. This is why I love live TV. Anything can happen. Good morning to you.
Exactly. Well, good morning to you. President-elect Trump is expected to pull up here in front of St. John's Church in just over an hour. He and the incoming First Lady, along with the Vice President-elect and his wife, will go inside for an hour-long service. It's an Inauguration Day tradition. Every president since James Madison has come to pray at this Episcopal church on special occasions, regardless of their own personal religious affiliation. Now, Mr. Trump is Presbyterian, so the church leadership worked with the inaugural committee to craft a service to suit his family. We do know Mr. Trump will be front and center in that front pew to listen to Baptist preacher Reverend Robert Jeffress. He will be delivering the sermon, I should say. He campaigned for Trump, and he leads a mega church in Dallas. He has come under fire himself for some controversial remarks he's made about Catholics, about gays, about Mormons and Muslims. But Charlie, today, his sermon will be entitled, When God Chooses a Leader.
Margaret, thanks. Some high-profile guests will not attend the inauguration. Nancy Cordes is at the west front of the Capitol. Nancy, good morning.
Good morning. They've actually been testing out the microphone that the president-elect will be using when he delivers his inaugural address here on the west front of the Capitol. Behind me, you can see that little bump out on what they call the West Terrace. That is where he will be speaking today. Those seats surrounding him will be filled by his family, the vice president-elect and his family, members of congressional leadership, the Supreme Court, other dignitaries. A short time ago, I actually saw them putting little pieces of paper on each seat with each name on it. As you can imagine, this is an assigned seating situation, no jockeying for seats today. Among those who will not be here today, Charlie, you referenced them, 62 House Democrats, who most of them are forming this as a kind of protest. They say it's a boycott because they're angry about some of the things that Donald Trump has had to say over the course of this election and in the days since. Republicans haven't made too big of a deal of it. They don't want to draw attention to it, but they do say the Democrats should have put politics aside on a day like this, and it just gives you a sense, Charlie, of the clashes yet to come here on Capitol Hill.
Nancy, thanks. CBS News political director and Face the Nation moderator John Dickerson joins us. John, good morning.
Good morning, Charlie.
I don't have a problem with this. I have to take it down. Let me just ask to start, what do we know about the speech? We know, for example, it's going to be aspirational.
Yeah.
We know that America First will certainly find its way into this speech.
Yeah, right. I think what I'm wondering is which of the two Donald Trumps will show up. Will it be the Donald Trump who is a negotiator who loves a big, strong opening gambit, really shocks everybody, and that's the way he loves to operate. The other is the Donald Trump we saw on election night after he won, kind of sounding the notes of unity. But it's one thing to say we all need to join together. It's another thing to show it, to offer something to the other side, to recognize the fear. There's some people for whom today is a great joy.
Yes.
After 8 years of feeling left out of their country, they have somebody who is their tribune who is now president. But there are a lot of people who are nervous. He's got the one camp. Can he speak to the other camp? And that's one of the big tests for today.
No, I see a lot of jolly people today in the hotel walking around the streets in tuxedos and long gowns. They are very psyched. But you're right, there's another side. His team keeps saying it's going to be the latter. He's going to be a unifier today. He is going to reach out. We'll see.
Well, unify, you can say we should all get together and then move on. That doesn't do it. A president, and the reason this is important is not just for today, but this is what a president does. He's promising a lot of change, a lot of disruption in America. Well, there are some people for whom that's a wonderful thing. For others, it's nervous-making, and a president has to explain, he has to comfort, he has to walk them through what he's doing. If he can do it today, there's a little signal he might be able to do it later.
As it's described in the Washington Post today, Donald Trump built a skyscraper of promises, of campaign promises. How quickly will they act?
He'll do a few little executive orders today that are just kind of bookkeeping matters, and then we don't know what's going to happen Monday, but there's things that are going to start happening Monday.
I'm told that he has something for every day for the first 2 weeks, that they are just going to come out of the gate roaring. I mean, and that it's every day there's some new policy change or whatever it may be.
Right. Some of them may be Mexico City, which has to do with abortion, which is something people might not know about. Other stuff, though, we're renegotiating NAFTA. That's big. That might start even earlier.
Do we know that he and Paul Ryan and the Republicans in Congress are at one on most issues?
Well, they're at one on the very big, broad things. But if you look at Obamacare, the devil's absolutely in the details, and there's going to be a lot of conflict. And because Donald Trump has promised a lot, cheaper, faster, better, immediately, repeal and replace.
Big budget items like the infrastructure.
Yeah, where they're really in sync, though, is getting rid of regulations and lowering taxes. So, yes, on most things, they're on the big stuff, they're really in sync. It's the details.
Thank you, John.
Perfect conversation while we're here. Proud to be an American in the background.
That's right.
The band is
concert right now. Thank you, John. Nearly 1 million people are expected to descend on the National Mall today. Police officers and security teams started sweeping this area early this morning. They are working to protect supporters and the protesters, too. 28,000 officers and security personnel are being deployed, including 10,000 from Homeland Security. More than 7,500 National Guard members and 6,000 police officers from across the country are on duty today. Security preparations have been underway for weeks, and we will be here all morning to bring you coverage of everything that happens today. So the sun is just beginning to rise on this historic day in the nation's capital. Stay with CBS this morning for the inauguration of Donald J. Trump today.
And in other big news, Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman is expected to face a federal judge today in Brooklyn, New York. That's right, he's now in the United States. CBS News obtained this exclusive video of the notorious kingpin's arrival last night at a New York area airport. Mexican authorities extradited him to face drug trafficking and other charges. DeMarco Morgan is outside the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan, where Guzman is being held now. DeMarco, good morning.
Good morning, Nora. It all happened in the final hours of the Obama administration. The U.S. had long been seeking the extradition of El Chapo. Now that he's here, he faces a 17-count indictment. Charges ranging from money laundering to heroin distribution. CBS News obtained this exclusive video of a moment American law enforcement officials and the Obama administration had been seeking for years. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, now on U.S. soil, facing multiple drug charges and a possible life sentence.
There is no coincidence here. El Chapo Guzman was extradited by the government of Mexico on the last full day of President Obama's tenure in the White House to send a very strong message of thanks to the president for working so hard over the past few years on this particular issue.
The government's 33-page indictment contains a litany of charges, including international distribution of cocaine, conspiracy to launder narcotics proceeds, use of firearms, and a count involving international heroin and methamphetamine distribution.
He will also be completely unable to engage in continuing narco-trafficking efforts because he will be denied access to cell phones or to other means of communication that, frankly, as good as these maximum security prisons in Mexico are, he was able to obtain with relative ease.
Guzman's swift departure from his Mexican prison came as a surprise to his lawyers. Mexico had been reluctant to allow his extradition, but the country's leadership came under increased pressure to do so after Guzman's second prison escape in 2015, slipping through a hole dug in his shower stall to a mile-long underground tunnel.
President Peña Nieto was very much humiliated on a global scale by that escape. And so ultimately Peña Nieto decided that it was worth sending him to the United States to face justice.
Now, besides New York, Guzman faces charges in 5 other U.S. jurisdictions. That includes San Diego, Chicago, and Miami. As for his next court appearance, we'll learn that sometime today. Gail?
Got it, DeMarco. Thank you very much. The Trump family is preparing for a major adjustment ahead. The president-elect's son, Eric, tells us about his father's work ethic and whether he really can separate politics from business. But first, it's time to check your local weather.
Good morning. Happy Friday. We're off to a dry start, but showers move in this afternoon. After 2 o'clock is when we expect the wet weather to be here. Closer to 5, specifically in and around the city. 46 the high today. That's 8 degrees above normal. This warm trend persists through the week and beyond. 53 tomorrow. Fortunately, mainly cloudy skies, maybe a stray sprinkle, but definitely the nicer half of your weekend. Sunday, it's 51. Bouts of rain on Sunday with the winds ramping up.
Hey, searching for a great used car?
Yeah.
You got it. Just say, show me millions of used cars for sale at the allnewcarfax.com.
I don't want one that's had a big wreck.
Just say, show me cars with no accidents reported. Pretty cool.
I like it.
That's the power of Carfax. Find the cars you want, avoid the ones you don't. Plus, you get a free Carfax report with every listing. Start your used car search at Carfax.com.
Key members of President-elect Trump's national security team could be confirmed today.
Ahead, a look at the security challenges a new administration will face and where Russia ranks as a potential threat.
You're watching CBS This Morning's coverage of the inauguration.
For 2 weeks in a row, Hidden Figures is the #1 movie